Alrighty, good morning everybody. Happy Thursday. Welcome to another Setting with Christian live. I have something a little bit different for you today. Today we're going to go with a Delta. So this is actually for one of our new showrooms that we've mentioned a few times in San Francisco. So keep an eye out for that if you are booking an appointment for San Fran once it opens for this. But we have so Delta is an elongated hexagon. And for this one we have a 1.5 carat stone to go in there. So let's have a look now. Nice. So you got this nice mix of a bit of a step cut, a bit of a brilliant on the ends. It's going to be really fun. So, as always, if you guys have any questions, comments, thoughts, anything you guys want to know, please chuck them in the comments. We will try to get to as many as possible. And I will try to talk to you guys through some answers of some questions, and we will type some answers as well, just to try and get to everyone. But while you guys get typing, I'm going to get setting. We're just going to start to we're going to see how this elongated hexagon fits. So it is really important we just keep in mind that we've got 6 corners that we're going to need to worry about. A little bit similar to a marquee where you got the 2 ends that are pointy, but with this elongated hexagon, we also have to worry about the 4 corners in the middle. So we want to make sure that we're drilling little holes for those corners, but we're also want to keep it nice and tight so that there's no wiggle room as well. So we can see it's actually sitting really well already. I haven't even cut anything. You can see it touching on all our claws, so we know where we're going to want to cut. And our height is really good too. So we'll take that out. We can see our little marks. See our little marks in here on our corners, or from our corners, so we know, okay, that's where we're going to cut it. So let's get going. Whoop. I can reveal that we only have Delta at the moment, but there may or may not be a few extra elongated hexagon designs coming into our collection really soon, which is really good news. I think it's such a great stone I was talking about it last week. We were talking about elongated stones where really lovely on the finger, but it's also something a little bit different. I think I can see that, people are looking to try and diversify, their ring and their stone and what they want to work with. And I think this is just a really great option to go with as well. As I said last week, on last Thursday, we did something a little bit different with our Friday Live. We had Alicia with us and we went through a bit more of a design style, showing you guys some rings. We're talking about what pairs well together. We're focusing on marquees. We're going to try and do something really similar to that tomorrow. So if you guys have anything specific you want to see or any ring combinations together, please put them in the comments too, send them through. And we can try and have them as a focus for tomorrow, which would be really good. Something a little bit different. We try and show you guys some finished jobs, and you guys can have a look at some pairings of rings and different ideas from other people that maybe you haven't thought about, while we just go on a journey with jewellery together, which is great. I'm just going to take a little bit of metal out of the inside of this setting as well, just to alleviate. We can see it's really pushing in a few areas in these corners. So just want to take a little bit out, give it a little bit of extra kind of breathing room. Alright, so let's have a look. Where are we? Perfect. So, you see that just taking out that inside a little bit, it just drops that height really nicely. And it just sits a little bit tighter in there, which is great. So we want it to, like I said when we before, we want it to keep it nice and snug. And we want it to touch on the inside of the bezel and on the claws as much as possible. So that's always our aim, to try and have as many contact points to make sure that there's tension from the bottom, tension from the top, and it's not going to come loose with one little knock. Now you see this all the time. I take out this little curved section, make it nice and flat on the inside. That's where our claw is going to lay on top of our stone. So we want to make sure it's nice and flat so we have maximum surface area contact as well. So we do that on all the claws to make sure that we really get that strong contact. Because if I leave it curved, then it's only touching on the little bit on the inside. It's just not as strong as we want it to be either. So you can see here the claws are sitting really well. We do want to bring them in a little bit, because you can see they're a little bit far away at the moment. We just want to open up those little bearings that we've cut to make sure that when we close it in, we're not putting too much pressure on those delicate points. So they are really hard. Diamonds are incredibly hard, but we don't want to put any unnecessary pressure on our points of our diamonds, especially because they are really sensitive, and a knock with too much force will actually cause a fair bit of damage. I've seen a few come in that people have accidentally knocked their ring and their stone is chipped. And some of them are pretty bad. We have to try and have to take it out and have to get a new stone. So I don't want that to happen to any of you. So just be mindful of when you're wearing it, how you're wearing it, what you're doing while you have your ring on. Because if you hit it on any of the corners or any of the edges of your facets, it can be, unfortunately, really catastrophic. And I just don't want you guys to have to go through that at all. Alrighty. So before we even think about putting our diamond in, you guys know I like to clean the inside of my settings to make sure that there's nothing, these little burn marks where I've started to cut out on the inside. I want to make sure I take them out. I don't want to, and give them a nice polish. Just a little minor detail, but just goes a long way to make sure that it doesn't matter which way you look at the stone, at your ring and your setting, you've just got that mirrored polish looking back at you. So just give it a soften. Now, and then I'm just going to go in with a really fine, little fine tool here. And what that'll do, that'll just give us a little bit of a pre-polish in there. Make sure that when we polish it, we get that mirror shine. Because if we don't, it's just going to be a little bit matte and a little bit grey, and yeah, not going to polish, not going to give us that mirror if we don't do all the prep work for it. So that's really important. If you want to get a good polish, you have to do all your preparation. Then I'm going to go in with a little brush and some polishing compound, and you'll see now how quickly we bring that really shiny mirror finish back. Look at that. Heaps better. Where are we? So then let's get our stone. Let's have a look again before we start moving any claws. Alright. As I said before, I want to bring our claws in a little bit. And let's try again, see where our stone sits. Let's try with these tweezers as well. Alright, so you can see we're in, nice and straight. Let's have a look. Claws are touching really nicely. Those corners are in those little cutouts that we've made, which is fantastic. So what we'll do now is we're going to start to push those claws over. What I will do first is I'm going to put some of this grey stuff around the setting. Now you guys, I think if you've tuned in before, you would have seen it a few times. This little grey stuff here is called Thermolock. It's like a, kind of looks like blue tack. When you heat it up, it goes really soft, like a blue tack, like a putty kind of texture. But at the moment, it's really, really hard. So you can see I'm just giving it a squeeze really, really hard. So I'm just going to heat it up. My heat gun. And really quickly, just like that, it's really soft and squishy and malleable. So I like to roll it out. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tuck it underneath our setting like this, so that what it means is when I push down on those claws and push them onto the diamond, it'll offer a bit of support for the setting on the end, so that when I push down, the whole setting doesn't rock. It gives it a bit of support underneath so that it can stay straight and give a bit of resistance. So when I push, the claw bends as opposed to the whole setting shift. Because there's nothing worse than you're trying to push over a claw and your setting moves, and then there's a whole lot of work to try and fix that and get it straight again. So we want to avoid that happening at all. So you can see we've wrapped it up nice and tight. And this will go hard really quickly. It's already started to go really firm. You can see I can just make a mark in it at the moment. But if we give it 10 more seconds, 10, 15 seconds, it'll go really hard and there's no moving it. So that'll stay on for most of the time while we're setting it, setting our diamond. Once we finish setting our diamond and ready to clean it up, I'll take the ring out of this clamp and heat it up a little bit, heat the thermo lock a little bit, and pull it off, and it just falls off, which is really handy. It doesn't leave any, shouldn't really leave too much residue or anything like that. There's different types that you can use. You can use like a wax, and the wax is really good. It's like a shellac. But the problem I find with the shellac is it gets a little bit messy and it's a bit stuck and takes a little bit more effort to try and remove that shellac from inside, because it comes on as a little bit liquidy. So yeah, I really like this Thermolock, because just like that, in the time that I've been talking to you guys, it's just gone super, super hard. So, drop our stone in again. You see it just clicks in, not a lot of movement. It's not, hopefully not going to give us too many issues at all, which is fantastic. So I'm just going to start with the end claws, because I want to try and lock in the stone to be straight in the center. And we want it to be flat horizontally like this. And then we're going to check for to be flat this way. So you can see it rocks a little bit, but that's okay. That's what these outside claws are going to do. They're going to help secure that. So we're just going to start slowly bringing our claws in one at a time. And we can see that those corners have tucked in beautifully into the claw. We've got the bottom of our stone is touching our inside of our bezel pretty much the whole way around, which is great. That's how we know we've got really good connection in there, and we're still straight. So that's a massive win. So what we're going to do now, just keep going slowly, slowly. You work all the claws all at once. You don't want to push one all the way over and then try and push another one, because we want to make sure when we push on the claws, the stone's going to want to shift a little bit. If you push all the right side over all at once, your diamond's going to be on an angle, you know, lifting on that left side. So you work all of them a little bit at a time to try and keep it really, keep it flat, keep it straight. And it helps if there's, you know, you over push a little bit, you can lift the claw back up and adjust really easily. Alrighty, so as you guys can see, our diamond is in, claws are pushed over, which is great. What I'm going to do now, once I've checked everything, awesome. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to use this little handpiece. This little handpiece connected to an air compressor, which is like a little hammer. So I'm going to use that with my little hammer tool that I've made, and I'm going to hammer those claws down. But while I do that, I am going to turn the microphone off because it is really loud. And it's not really pleasant to listen to, especially if you've got headphones on. So if you guys just watch and follow along, I'll adjust the volume. But first, I will answer this question. What's the hardest diamond shape to set? That's a great question, and it really depends on the setting. I would say I really like this elongated hexagon. It is can be a little bit tricky. But the hardest shape, I don't know, to be honest. Maybe this is probably not one of the easiest, I can put it that way. But the hardest, in my opinion, yeah, it's more about the setting, I think. Marquees, pairs can be a little bit tricky depending on what setting they're going into. Anything with corners can be a little bit difficult at times, depending on what the claws are like. Is there a support bar? Is there a hidden halo? All of those kind of questions. But after you've done enough of them, you know where you're going to have issues and you try and avoid them. So it's not too bad. But sometimes you get stumped on a few different shapes where you don't expect it. It takes a little bit longer. But touch wood, so far so good. This is working really, really well. So I don't want to jinx ourselves. But yeah, it's a good question actually, because I don't have a really straightforward answer. All right, I'm going to keep going with this hammering, guys. So we'll just adjust the microphone for a few moments, but don't go anywhere. Alright, so you guys will have seen I've hammered over the claws. You can see those little flat spots on top of up here that we've put on. That's the marks from top of our little hammer here. So I'm really happy with how our claws are sitting, and you'll see that I've also filed them to nice eagle tips. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to use my graver. It's a nice sharp polished surface, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take out all these little lines. So you can see those little file lines here. I'm just going to gently slice that away and leave this really fine surface that I can then clean up and get ready to polish. Now, if we don't do this, it just means that our the sides of our claws aren't super flat, and they can end up a little bit curved and bowed, and it's just not what I'm after. So I try not to take too much metal. I just want to take that nice shaving of a top layer off, and it helps bring the point, helps accentuate this point of our, where are we? The point of our eagle tip as well. It makes it nice and sharp. So I will go all one direction first. I'll do all of one side first, and then what I'll do is I'll do the other. I'll do them again, but just push from the back forward, just to make sure that where the tips of those claws are nice and straight as well. We don't want to leave any little straggly bits left behind. You can see that there's just a little bit of something left. So I'm just going to go back this way. Just clean up those edges slightly. Very minor, but just a small little detail don't want to miss. Now, once we've done that, we can have a look. And our get rid of this little bit here, so stuff like that we don't want to see. We pretty much got our, we have our diamond in, we've got our claws probably 80% of the way there, they're nice, they're down. We've got the shape, we just haven't got the profile. So what I'll do now is, now that we've got it in, we don't really need to hammer anymore. Just going to give it one last check before we take it out of the ball vise. A little clamp here. Just touch up anything else I might think I don't want to see. Awesome. So what I'll do now is I am looking for my little key to undo my clamp here. So I'll just undo this one, take our ring out. And like I said before, this thermo lock, you can see, really hard to get off. So I'm just going to put a little bit of heat. And you'll be able to see how easily it just pulls away. Just like that. So just make sure we get it all off. Perfect. All these little bits here, they can come off, no big deal. And we're in. So now we're going to shape our claws. So we'll get rid of our thermo lock. Get rid of our protective tape here. So we're going to use a few different little polishing kind of tools. These are like little silicon kind of discs kind of stuff. And they're abrasive. So this is a diamond disc. We've got to be really careful because it will cut our diamond if we're not careful. It's made up of tiny little diamonds, but what it does is it can shape this wheel to a nice point. Put that diamond disc away, and now I'm going to keep cleaning up these claws. But do have some comments here. I love how it's made to order. Yes, certainly is. If you guys put through an order, we do have some ready to ship stock, which is great. But if you're after the experience where you can pick your setting, pick your diamond, make any little customizations, that is certainly the way to go. I also have one. Must be so much harder setting stones with a softer hardness scale. That is 100% correct. Our diamonds are a really great material to work with. They're so hard, so still got to be really careful because it definitely can chip it if you're not careful with any of these tools. But it is really hard, and it kind of is a little bit forgiving. But with softer stones that are further down the hardness scale, yeah, you need to be really careful because things like our little engraver here, that will put scratches into things like sapphires, especially like topaz, amethyst, all that kind of stuff will scratch really, really easy. So need to be very careful. I love how the step cut of an elongated hexagon plus the shiny top and bottom. Yes, I will get to the second part of that, but you can see we have step cut on the east-west side and on the north-south, a little bit of a modified step cut brilliant look, which is really nice. It is a little bit dirty full of fingerprints at the moment, but you will be able to see once we clean it and it goes in ultrasonic that it does have that really nice sparkle. How do you make sure the claws are symmetrical? Do you have a tool like a ruler as a guide? Great question. The most straightforward answer is practice. It's a lot of practice and a lot of time spent looking. I work off the diamond itself and trying to line up little facets on the stone to make sure they're even. But yeah, it's a lot of practice. Unfortunately, there's no stencil or a ruler or a guide or anything like that we can use. So it's all about muscle memory in your hands and practice with your eye to make sure it's nice and straight. Because it can look straight under a microscope, and then I go down and look like this, and they're really crooked. So it's a bit of practice and a whole lot of patience, I would say, to get them nice and symmetrical. We have another question here. Do you ever stuff up and cut too much off the claws? This can happen, and I won't say that I'm immune to it. It has happened a couple of times, but that's okay. No big deal. We are very lucky that we have a laser welder, and what that does is I can then, if I've cut away a little bit too much, before I put the stone in or anything like that, I can go back, put some metal back in, I can fill it back in with a laser, clean it back up, and then finish setting the diamond, or the moissanite or the sapphire, depending on what we got in front of us, which we're really lucky. It's really fortunate. It's a very fortunate thing to have a laser welder. But if you didn't, it may mean you have to cut the whole claw off and solder a new one on, and it's a very, very time-consuming mistake to make. So, like I said before, with the claws and symmetry, with practice, you don't make that mistake, but it still can happen because we are only human. So these things can happen from time to time, but no big deal. There's always a way to fix it without having to remake everything. So you just see now I'm cleaning up all this side surface. I'm just trying to give it a really even blend from the bottom of the claw up to the top. So you'll see it's not super polished or anything like that, but that's fine. We're more after just the consistent finish, and then when we move to a little bit of a finer wheel, that'll give us our shine. But at the moment we just want to focus on the shape. so that when we look down, they're nice and even. We don't have any deep marks. You can see they're starting to get really even. So then what I will do is actually use this same tool. I'm going to shape these edges. So it's really sharp on the top, so just going to give it a nice rounded finish. And what's great about doing this, I like holding the piece when I do this and taking it out of the clamp, because I can get a lot more angles. I can, turn the ring and hold it with a lot more control while I'm trying to shape them than I would if I'd only done it in the clamp, because you're bound by angles, of course, but it just gives that little bit of extra control where we can just focus on that shape a little bit more. And we just clean up our back. So our claws are probably 90% of the way there at the moment. Their shape is there, everything is good. We just want to make sure that when we polish them, they give us a lovely shine. So I'm just going in with another wheel. It's another green one, different kind. You can see it's a lot finer, and that's going to give us a really nice pre-polish. Thanks so much for answering the question. That's okay, not a problem. Love seeing these videos. Gives me confidence as a customer that these aren't stock settings. That's 100% right. Thank you. We really appreciate your support. Each setting is made for each diamond, which is great. It means that you're not kind of trying to fit something in where it doesn't belong, which is great. And we don't have to cut too much away and try and manipulate it, and you lose the effect of the design. It just shows that each ring is unique in its own way, and we treat it that way. It's not just a one size fits all kind of scenario. So you can see now with this wheel, you've got this little bit of a pre-polished shine to it, taking away all these lines from the last tool, anything else that's left. And you'll be able to see in a minute when we go to polish, it turns out like a mirror. Now these wheels are not dangerous to our diamond at all. Our diamond will actually, if I put this little wheel on the diamond will actually start cutting my wheel and destroying the shape, so I don't want to do that. So it's good. We don't risk damaging the diamond. On a softer stone, you've got to be careful what kind of little wheels we use, because we can put some marks in, so we should be really mindful of that. And we're just mindful of how I use this little wheel on the claws, because if I'm not careful, I can put really deep marks in, because we are running on a bit of a point. So just keep that in mind while we're using it, and make sure we're not coming into a claw like that and cutting into it. We're trying to use those nice knife edge to get a flat surface. Alrighty, so that's our sides done. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use a same kind of wheel, but it's just you'll see it's a really rounded finish. And I'm just going to go over the rest of the claw just to soften it and give it that pre-polished finish. So again, when we do polish, it comes out like a mirror. It also helps to smooth out any corners or any edges that are left on the claw that I didn't get out before. Just give it a nice smooth finish. Because we want when we look at the claws, we want them to have this nice smooth curve coming up. We don't want to have little lines or bumps or flat spots or anything like that. Alrighty. And now to give it a nice little polish. So again, we're going with this little brush, a little bit of compound that'll help cut the metal and give it that shine. You can see there's our compound going black, but you can also see that mirror finish it leaves on the claw, which is great. We want to see the light travel along those claws consistently, no bumps, no marks, nothing like that. But we'll use a slightly smaller wheel, get nice and close. So kind of just repeat the same process, all the claws on all the sides. So I'm currently working on just the one side of each claw to make sure I get them all. Try not to polish and burn my finger while I'm at it. This little wheel and the compound does get really hot, so gotta try and not melt my skin at the same time. Now we use these little wheels to polish the claws instead of, well, before we go to the big machines, because the big machine, you're not going to be able to get into these little corners and around the claws profile because those wheels, the machines are so big. So it's really important to do all the detailed work here at the bench under a microscope where we can see and have a lot of control, because if you just go in and put all these curved edges right up against the flat wheel, you're just going to put flat surfaces everywhere, and that's definitely not helpful. It definitely doesn't look nice. It definitely doesn't represent the quality of work that we are working towards here either. So just give it a nice soft finish, and I'll just give the top a light buff with a big fluffy wheel. But we're right at the end now. You'll see I've just got this nice fluffy one. Zoom out for you guys. And now there is a little bit of that black compound still left on the stone. No big deal. That'll just come off in our ultrasonic. Dissolves all of that, so that's not a problem. But what I'll do for you guys is I'll just wipe it off so you guys can see how it looks. But just like that, we have our 1.5 carat DVS1 Delta, 6 claws in 18 karat yellow gold finished. And there we have it. Beautiful. Beautiful. We're now going to send this downstairs. This will go with our good friend Nilesh. He's going to give it a final polish, touch up the rest of the ring, bag it, prep it, and then we're going to send it to San Francisco in time for our showroom opening, which isn't too far away. I don't have an exact date, but it's not too far away at all, so keep an eye out on the socials. But anyway, thank you guys very much for tuning in today. I really appreciate it. Any questions or anything we didn't get to, please send them through in the DMs, and I'll see you guys all for another live tomorrow. Have a good night and keep loving jewelry. Thanks, guys.